So we live. So I guess I'm gonna try to bring the brother in through this way and see what that works. Try to see if you can hit the invite button. Let me see, because I can't see no comments yet. Can't see no comments yet. It's loud. It's so loud, man. I need to see. If you hit the man, let me see where he at. Matter of fact, hold on, y'all. I need to see where he at. See if I can add them through here. All right, so I sent you an invite. That's what I'm trying to do. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Let me send him an invite. Hold on. Let's see if we can get the invite in here. Add viewers to be on your broadcast. Okay. So let's see. He has to be viewing. He has to view. Come in, brother Chris. You want to come in? Let me know if you want to come in. I'll put you in. I'm gonna add brother Chris in and see if you want to come. Wow. I sent you the invite, brother. Okay, let me see who all viewing now. Okay, got 3 viewers. So let's see. Invite a friend. All right. Yeah, he's done with my. I didn't do what I had to do. Hold on. All right, so cool. Let me add you in now. Hold on, I got you. Let me add you in. All right. I added you in. You should be able to get in now.
All right, man. I'm here with you, man. What's good?
What's going on? Peace, brother.
All right, peace.
Yeah. I wish we could have did it over the other thing, but it's all good though.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm with Amazon. So they're not even, you know what I'm saying? So they ain't even got that option, you know what I'm saying, with Amazon. So they're on a separate
Okay.
server. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, man. I think it's best we have discussions, man, because in the chat room, you know what I'm saying, it's a lot of typing and stuff, and I can't really, I'm not really good at typing and none of that. But yeah, man, let the people know who you are, man. Introduce yourself, man.
Yeah, my name is Isaac. You know what I'm saying? Isaac Tarver. I mean, should I give a quick little
Yeah.
thing? Yeah, so my name is Isaac Tarver. I grew up in a Christian household. My grandmother and two of my aunties are ordained ministers. My grandmother and my auntie were paid to go talk and preach in churches all over Southeast Kansas. So, I've studied all types of religions. It took me a while to get to come to this conclusion. It took a while. I'm 5%ers, comedic science. I done been through it all. And, and this right here, I haven't found any holes in it yet, man. Like, all the truth that's been spoken is unquestionable. Now, that's not saying the camps though, because the camps speak a lot of lies, and I'm not and I'm not the one to deny that. And that's why I'm not part of any camp. I don't do camp business, because camps preach a lot of madness that's not true.
Okay, cool. So we definitely we on the same side on that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So what I want to say is this is because I think we was talking about the Khazarian theory, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so the information that I got on the Khazarian theory basically deals with you know um, there's no evidence for us, no Khazarian DNA. You know what I'm saying? And so when I want to pronounce his name right, let me look him up because I don't want to. His name Aaron, I believe, or Hawk or something. You know what I'm talking about? The
Nah,
guy.
I was asking you that earlier. I'd asked you that earlier, like who you talking about, Aaron. I didn't know who you were specifically speaking about.
Yeah, let me make sure I'm saying his name right because I don't want to. That's why I really wanted to share my screen. because I can mess names up real bad. But let me know your
No doubt.
perspective on what you feel when it comes to the Khazarian or Ashkenazi Jews.
Okay. My theory is, well, because I deal with I deal with a Hebrew brother, and I just not got on genetics just like recently. You know what I'm saying? I've always been about the Bible and the history of the Israelites, but the genetics is another piece that just, you know what I'm saying, that adds on to what I've already believed in the beginning. Now, the Khazarians was a Germanic tribe. They were Germanic. You know what I mean? They come from the Russian steppe of the Khazarian. And at one time, it was called the Khazar Cognate, which was one of the powerhouses at that time. And this is when you get the Khazar Arab wars. There was four of them. There was four Khazar Islamic wars at the time, and Bulan Khazar, I
King
think I'm
Bulan.
saying his name correct. Yeah, King Bulan was he that caused the Khazars to convert to Judaism, but it only came at the expense because they had Islam on one side, the caliphates on one side, and they had the Roman Catholic Church on the other. And either the Khazars was going to convert to, you know what I'm saying, Judaism or the Islam or Christianity, or they was going to get wiped off the map. So King Bulan called the leaders, called the religious leader from each tribe, from each sect of belief, and he made them debate. You know what I'm saying, that which religion was superior. So after the Christian and the Qadi, which is, you know what I'm saying, the Islamic religious leader, after they had debated for some time, they couldn't come to a conclusion. There was no clear distinction. So King Bulan got in his head. He said, so this is what I'm going to do. So he asked the Islamic Qadi, he said, of the Christians and the Israelite religion, which one is more superior? So the Islamic Qadi, not wanting to agree with the Christian, he said the Israelite, you know what I'm saying, the Israelite religion was superior. So he asked the Christian priest the same thing. He said, between the Islamic faith and the Israelite faith, which one is superior? So the Christian priest, not wanting to agree with the Islamic Qadi, said the Israelite religion was superior. And this is what led him to convert to Judaism. But it was under the force that they was getting ready to wipe the Khazars off the map, though. You know?
Right.
So,
So
right.
go ahead.
Go
So
ahead.
you definitely agree. You definitely agree that Israel was in that area then, in order for them to convert. Then.
Uh, I wouldn't say technically that they were in the land, but at that time, Israel was at a high state where they were in, you know what I'm saying, they were in power, you know what I'm saying, they held some kind of power as far as their position in the world at that time. So, I mean, the Israelite religion was known because, as you know, Christianity and Islam both take their teachings from the Israelite religion. It is both based off of that. So they both had knowledge of the Israelite religion because it both comes from that. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. And the reason why I say that is because when you start dealing with the Khazarian kingdom, that's around, I want to say, what was it, 7th century, 8th century AD, right? Around
Yeah.
7th
Oh,
century
yes,
AD,
sir.
I believe. And
Yes, sir.
so when you look at the geography of it and look at the map and stuff, it seems to me when you look at it, that Israel was already in those areas already, having gone through already the Assyrian provinces, also the Medes and Persians, the Babylon, as well as the Grecian provinces, and then when
Absolutely.
we start getting off into the Roman provinces, let alone start dealing with the Parthians, the Scythians, and stuff like that, and those different provinces just as well. And so when you start getting all the way up to 700 AD around that time, because I believe, what was it, 780 or something like that? I think it was around that
I think it was
area, around
740.
7, around that
740,
area.
I think. Yeah,
Okay,
740.
so right, so around that area, Israel was in that area already. Israel was also in Germania already, because you know why? Because the Roman Empire If you look at it,
Yes.
Josephus, have you ever read Josephus before?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have. I read a lot of his work.
Right. So I'm pretty sure when you read Josephus, it said that that 90,000 of Israelites was taken into Jews was taken
Captivity.
into captivity into Egypt, right? And so
Yes.
where else did it say they was taken at? It said they was taken in Roman provinces, all over the Roman
Well,
provinces.
that is true. Okay, that is true. But the majority of Israel, the majority of the Israelites fled down into Africa though during the Roman Jewish Wars of 70 A.D. When General Pompey came into Israel in 70 A.D., he, you know what I'm saying, he basically destroyed Jerusalem. And the majority, like I said, it's been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled off into Africa. And this is why you see a strong Hebrew culture in certain parts of Africa, specifically in West Africa and South Africa. But that doesn't mean that we're African. It just means that we have migrated into them tribes and cultures, which was a reason why these African natives had hated us so much, because the things that they were dealing with, we wasn't dealing with that. There were certain things that they did, certain practices and things that we didn't do. And just like in Egypt, the Pharaoh feared that we was going to overrun them because we was growing so fast in Egypt. We was going so fast in Egypt, the Pharaoh and the people got scared. They was like, dang, if they keep growing like this, they're going to outnumber us and they're going to enslave us. That's the reason that went down in West Africa as well. You know what I'm saying? And we started to absorb some of their tribes into our culture. That's how strong it was. Because we didn't, you know what I'm saying, we didn't do the child sacrifices. We didn't do the voodooism. We didn't do none of those things because it was commanded of us not to do those things. We didn't eat the pig. We didn't do none of these things that these other African tribes was doing. Even though we are in Africa now to this day, we are still there. We're scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, you know? So
Right.
yeah, yeah,
And so my main thing is this is because, and I don't know, you said you don't really deal with too much of the genetics and stuff like that, because here's my point of view, so I can give you my point of view of it.
yes,
When you start looking at the first dispersion of Israel being dispersed out of the land, right? The
yes,
first thing we see is they dispersed into Assyria, right? So we see they're
yes,
dispersed into Assyria. And when they're dispersed into Assyria, we got to know where Assyria stretched to. Because if they're dispersed to Assyria, then that means that Israel are in those provinces. Because remember, whenever you was given over to an empire or that king came and got you, he put you wherever he seen fit at, you know what I'm saying, and scattered you within those provinces. And that's kind of what we seen in
yes,
70 AD, because Josephus also mentions that not only did they go into Africa, but he said that also they went into the different provinces of Rome. Because
yes.
if you look at it, let's look at what let's look at some things real quick. And so my position on when you start dealing with the Ashkenazi Jews is that before 700 AD took place, there was already people that was in those provinces over there, as well as Germania already, before there was even a conversion in 700 AD. And the reason why we know that Israel was all in those areas already, because we can see that Israel was over in Paul himself. What was he? He was a native of Rome. He was born in Rome, right?
But he was a Benjamite though. He was from the tribe of Benjamin though. He was
Right.
of
He was
Benjamin
from
though. Right.
Right, he was from the tribe of Benjamin. That's my point. But he was from the
Hmm.
tribe of Benjamin. But where was he born at? He's born in Rome, right? Well, he
Now
was
that
born. What was it? It's not Rome. It's what was it? Not Rome, but in a Roman province. What is
right
it?
because
Tarshish. He was born in Tarshish.
because the Romans had control of Jerusalem at that time, right? So it would be so
Right.
wouldn't it be that right? Okay, so yeah, right. So the Romans had control over the province of Jerusalem. So I don't think he was born there. He might have had, you know what I'm saying, he might have had traveled there, but I don't think he was born there because he
He
was
was
still
born
of
in.
the tribe of Benjamin.
He's born in Tarshish, actually.
Okay. And I couldn't tell you where Tarshish is on the map right now. I would have to go and look and see where that was at. I wouldn't know that. But I do know that Assyria is also in the Middle East, right? I mean, not to
Right.
this day it was not, but but ancient times it was though.
Right. So yeah, right. So he was born in Tarshish. Tarshish is right beside, is that right? It's right. I believe it's right beside Syria, I believe.
Okay,
By
right. So,
Turkey.
okay, so that's the Middle East.
Yeah, it's almost right there by Turkey. That's where he was born at, I believe. I think I'm spelling it.
Right.
I might be spelling it right. I think I'm spelling it right. But yeah. So he's born in Tarshish. He was born in Syria, right? That's where he was born at. I think that's what it said.
Yes.
I might have it right. I'm not sure, but I think he said he was born in Tarshish. Well, in that area that you see right there, that is a Roman province right there. So that's why he was a Roman province. But when you look at other areas, as far as when you look at let's look at when it talks about where the Israelites were where they was located. Because we got to look at Paul's epistles, where his epistles was going, also where Peter's epistles was going. And when we see where their epistles was going, these are all the places they was located at. But this is before 70 AD. So they
Right.
wasn't just in those areas that we see southern Israel or northern Israel. They was in Asia. They was
Yeah.
also in Rome, and so they were
Absolutely.
scattered. Right. So my thing is this is that when 700 AD took place, most people the theory is that they converted right over to the Khazarians converted, and then they pushed to Europe, West Europe, right?
Okay.
That's what
Well, yeah, that is what they say. But the Germanic tribes in Europe, they were native to those lands. They see, and this is the thing, about the book about Arthur Koestler. He wasn't so much as trying to disclaim anybody. He was more or less showing the historical events and where they come from. He was tracking back the history of the Khazars. That was the whole thing of the book, like I said, because I've actually read the book myself. And it wasn't so much as him saying that the Negro was the Jew, and it wasn't so much as saying that as much as it was saying that those that are claiming that they are Jews have no blood relation or are not descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel. That was the whole point of the book. Now, there are different things in the book that, that can be questioned, and you could say, well, this and the third, but the whole point of the book was just to trace back the origins of the Ashkenazi Jews. That was the whole point of the book. So what happened was the same people that uplifted him and, spoke great things about him and said, they adhered to everything he said. Once he came out with that book, those same people, those same Jews that adhered to him, and they said, yeah, he's right. When he came out with that book, them same Jews that uplifted him was the same ones that assassinated his character and killed him. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't so much as saying that, that the Negro was the Jew. That's not what it was saying. It was just showing the fact that those that claim they are Jews now are not Jews because they have no blood direction to the tribes of Jacob. They are from the Russia steppe, which is, basically the Caucasus Mountains, basically. And that comes with the Khazarian cognate. The Khazarian cognate. You know what I mean? And that's where that all starts out at, because they were Germanic, war tribes.
so hold on, why was he able to say, or did he have any type of, if you say they didn't have any blood ties to Israel, what did he have that was tangible to tell to even say that? What did he have?
Well, as far as Arthur Koestler, I couldn't give you an intelligent answer for that, because at the time that he wrote the book, it was before DNA analysis and and all the scientific, methods was, was available to the public. So at the time, I can't say what method he used. But right now, at the time, we have DNA genetic evidence, and we have other methods that actually prove that what he said. But not only just genetic, you know what I'm saying, genetic evidence, but also the Bible. When you get into Genesis 10 in the table of nations, it also says the same thing. The Ashkenaz are Gentiles. That is the land of the Gentiles. If I'm an Israelite, if I'm claiming to be Jewish, when I ask you where you're from, you're automatically supposed to say, I'm from Israel. You don't say, I'm from Ashkenaz, because that is not where you originally come from. You know what I mean? That is just, you know what I'm saying, you so you say. So, and I was saying earlier about the J haplotype. Remember I was telling you about that, about the DNA genetics and how they claim that? So I had did a little bit of research, I ain't had too much time because I ain't gonna front. This is my first time ever doing a live debate. I've never done this before, so you got to bear with me a little bit. I ain't never had time. But the J haplotype is what is being claimed right now by Ashkenazi Jews as being the founding haplotype of the Jewish nation. But if you study genetics, haplogroups range from A to T. You know what I'm saying? You got A, B, C, D, all the way to T. Now we know for a fact that A is the is the beginning, which would have been Adam, because Adam was supposed to have been, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, the first man on the planet. So he would have been A. Now, when you get to Noah and his 3 sons, it breaks off into the E. The E1B1A is actually the founding lineage of the ancient Hebrew Israelite nation. That is actually the true haplotype of the ancient Israelite religion. So when they try to claim to be J is nowhere close to A. Nowhere close. I mean, that's way off. So you already know that is a mutation of genes that occurred over so many thousands of years that has happened, right? So as they say, so I go into ancestry.com or family tree DNA, and they have what they call DNA markers, and they give explanations for each haplogroup. From A through T, they give haplogroups, right? So what they say about haplogroup J haplogroups are not Semitic, nor are they Arabic. They have nothing to do with that. The J haplotype comes from the J haplogroup is not from the Arabian Peninsula, but from northern Fertile Crescent, originally somewhere
West
between
Asia.
ancient Near East. Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, Near Asia, and Eastern Anatolia. Now, I haven't had time to look that up yet, but I know that it's not. You understand? But I know that it's not. You know, and what it is that, you know what I'm saying, people will always accept, you know what I'm saying, that these Europeans are Jews, but it's not the case. They have stolen the identity of the true children of Israel, including yourself, brother. They have stolen the identity. They got the whole world thinking that and this is the reason why they receive billions of dollars every year from America, from Europe, every year, because they feel
But
that
let me
they are
ask
the
you this.
children
Let
of
me
the
ask
book.
you this, because I gotta ask you this. I gotta say this
Sure
now.
thing. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
seeing that we talking about haplogroups, right? Now,
Yes.
okay, you said that E, right? E
Yes.
comes from what was it? Comes from
Well,
Abraham then.
I mean, well, yes, absolutely. But the A comes from Adam. A is the original. So A is the first. You will hardly ever find anybody that has an A,
Right,
B, or C haplogroup. That's like,
right,
that's rare to find that. But when you
right.
get
Now
up
we
into E, yeah. Go ahead.
so you say E comes from Abraham. Now here's the problem that I have with that, because now when you look at E and when
No,
we look
from
at
Noah.
these are
Noah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm starting with
Noah
you
and
said
his 3
E comes
sons.
from Noah. E comes from Noah. Now,
Right. Noah's 3, yes.
Noah started from what, Mount Arad, the Middle East or Near East, ancient Near East, right? That's where he started from.
I believe so. Don't quote me on it though,
So
because I'm not gonna say so. Yeah, don't quote me on it, but
right,
yeah, you may be correct.
okay, so if Noah started from there, he would have picked up a mutation over in that area dealing with E, right? Okay, because E, the
Mhm.
origin of E is actually in sub-Saharan Africa. So that's where the origin at. That's where the mutation is picked up at. Now remember, E don't come along until Well, they say, according to their time clock, millions of years later, you know what I'm saying? Because A was first. You was right. Now, we both disagree with the
Absolutely.
time span because I don't agree with their time span because of how they view biological clocks or molecular clocks, which is just telling us the amount of change within each organism. And so they rate that amount of change, and then once they rate the amount of change that they see from one organism to organism B, organism A to organism B, what they do is they calculate that, and they say, well, this is how much long this would have took for this to take place. So that's what they say. And so
Right.
they shoot it all the way back millions of years or whatever. So I disagree with that. Now, but the origin, hold on, let me see something.
Yeah, that's real. I mean, the brother Desmond Austin, he said something real. Even though you find E haplogroup in sub-Sahara, that does not mean that we originate from that place. As I said, because as stated, whenever the Israelites were scattered down and they migrated into Africa, so it's only, you know what I'm saying, so it's only obvious that the reason why you find the E haplotype in sub-Saharan
Right.
Africa is
But
because
that's
of
what,
the migration of the Israelites.
right, but hold on. That's what I was about to get at. Now, here's the thing.
Okay.
Now, okay, the more you find where, like, the more of where you find of where E is at, is where they say that it originated at. Now, if you find like when you go to the Middle East, if you find, like, if you don't find a lot of E there, but you start finding markers like I, K, L, you know what I'm saying? You start finding J
Right.
markers. Now, when you start finding those markers there, then what it is this. It's just like this, okay? Let's say, for instance, we brothers, right? We move,
Yes.
let's say, for instance, we stay in Africa. I push out and I move to the east, right? Now, I have that marker E in me. You know what I'm saying? I have it in me.
Yes.
But I might scoot to the, I might go to the east. When I go to the east, even though I got that marker in me, when I have children, they're going to develop other markers. So they might develop either depending on what the climate is, what their diet is, they might develop a mutation on their chromosome, right? And when they
Right.
develop that mutation, they pick up what you call either a subclad, or they might pick up a new mutation, or they might meet and link up with somebody, and they might develop what you see Mike J. I'm saying, like, when you look at JP209, the origin of JP209 is in West Asia, right? So when you start looking at
Yes.
J1 and J2, which is subclass of JP209, then those are people that are moved down between the Arabian Peninsula or Far East or Near East, because they all have those J markers. Now, when you start looking at the time link between where Abraham was, where Noah was, they would have picked up a J marker. So here's my thing. If they would have picked up that J marker in their kids, because we know that they was in those areas messing with the different women that was in those areas, because Abraham, I mean, what's his name? Jacob took on a woman that was in Syria, which was Laban's wife. I mean, Laban's daughter, right? And so we know that they came from that area as well as from Haran and all of those areas. Now, here's the thing. Most of the people that say that they are Jews, right? When they say that they are Jews, the first thing they look at, can they find something culturally with these people? If there's something culturally
Absolutely.
that is there, if they practicing something, they want to look and say, well, where did they get this practice from? So then when they relating to it and they doing some practice, this Israelitis or whatever the case may be, they say, well, okay,
Absolutely.
let's see, can we find something, a migration from the Bible or something. Let's look at our Bible and our history, and let's see, can we find, did they migrate to this area? Were they in this area? The third thing they look for is linguistics. Is there something linguistically there that they can see where we can relate back to some type of Israel or Semitic language? Well, I wouldn't say Semitic, but language that Israel spoke, or how they
Right.
use the language.
Okay.
The fourth thing is genetics. Now, when they went to these different groups, like a lot of people don't know, even though 1 million fled to Africa, what about the people that never experienced a 70 AD? They never went into captivity. They never went into 70 AD because they never came back. That's why when you do studies and you look in Babylon, there's actually a city that's in Babylon called Judah, because you know why? Some of those guys never came back. They stayed there. When you look at also, and you know how, and to prove that, because I don't want
clarify something right quick?
to. Go ahead.
Can I clarify something right quick?
Go ahead.
When you spoke about the mutation of the genes, and this is the thing, when you get DNA tests, you always go through your father, because as the Bible says, you are who your father is. When you have a son, do you have a son? Or do you have children? You have a son?
Yeah.
His Y DNA haplotype is exactly yours. The father passes down his Y haplotype to his son unchanged, and this goes down for a period of a minimum of 5,000 years. You could trace back your father's Y haplotype. That's the reason why when you do these DNA tests, you go and you get your Y haplotype, because the DNA haplotype remains unchanged over thousands of years. It remains the same. The same Y DNA haplotype that you have, your son has the exact same DNA haplotype that you have. So to say that it mutated, now when you deal with the women, and this is the reason why Israelites are so keened up on women, on our women dating outside of their race, because the women's DNA mutates depending on who she messes with. The man's haplotype does not mutate when it's passed down from son to son. It stays virtually the same. So whenever you have a woman from Israel,
Actually, they both mutate.
The man's but the man's DNA, regardless if he of the race of woman, and I know, you know what I'm saying, some of the sisters gonna get mad about that, because, you know what I'm saying, we have a lot of debates about that all the time. But a lot of sisters would get mad. But the fact remains is this: when a man, this is the reason why the Egyptians, they killed off all the men. This is the reason why when you go to war, you kill off the men and you save the women. Because for the simple fact is, when you kill off all the men and you keep the women, as long as you procreate with those women, those children will come out whatever the father was. And that, I mean, and that's a fact right there. So they always kill the men off in war. The men are always killed off in war. Women are a spoil, you know what I'm saying? Women are a spoil of war. So which means is whenever you conquer something, you have the spoils of the women, because she is the vessel that brings forth the seed that produces, you know what I'm saying, of what you are. So if I'm an Israelite, regardless if I deal with a Canaanite woman, or I deal with an Egyptian woman, or I deal with the Ethiopian woman, if I have a son, that son will be my haplotype and will be of my blood lineage. This is the reason why they kill off the men in war and they keep the women, because the women is just a vessel. She brings forth the seed, but the DNA, but you are what your father is, though. So you always keep the women. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this. So
yes.
Are you saying that, here's the thing, are you saying that you, because really when you say the E1B1, I can see E1B1A, Ramses the second, the third, right? He's E1B1, E1B1A.
Absolutely.
Is Ramses, is he an Israelite?
From my as far as my research go, I'm not going to give you a definite yes or no, but from my research, he was, because Egypt was ruled at different points in time. They were ruled by Hebrews, and you can tell that by the earrings in the ear, the bonnets on the head, like what you're wearing on your head right now. That is a Hebrew custom right there. You know what I'm saying? The bonnet. You know what I'm saying? Hebrews wore bonnets. They had earrings in their ears. Those are Hebrew customs. So, and you can see depictions of Ramses the Third.
Asiatics wore these on their head. I mean, those people from Babylon, Elam.
Right. But think about it though. Where does the word Semitic come from? What is Semitic? Semitic is an Afro-Asiatic language and an Afro-Asiatic culture. So yeah, of course, because they're Semitic.
It actually comes from what they say Shem or something.
Yeah,
well, I wouldn't say Shem. Yes. But that's what they don't want to give it. They don't want to give it that. But you know what I'm saying? We know whatever.
You are correct in your understanding. The word Semiticism comes from the word Shem, which means Shemitic, but they broke it down and just says Semitic. But yeah, the word Semitic comes from the term Shemitic. So
this is what I'm saying about E1B1A.
Afro-Asiatic. Absolutely.
This is what I'm saying about E1B1A, right? Because if they picked up this marker that was in the Middle East, right? They picked up a J marker, right? If they picked up that J marker, then we can see that the other groups that we see around the world, they have this marker. So when we see the other Jews that are saying that they Jews, they actually have these markers. They either have E3, they either have some of them have R1B, and then they have E1B1, which is North Africa, which, you know what I'm saying, we can see the migration up out of that. Some of them have IK, you got T markers, you got the Cohen marker, then you got the J1, J2 marker. And so when we look at the other people, like for instance, we know that Abraham, he came from that area, right? So when we start looking at
from the land of Ur, from the Chaldeans,
from the land of Ur, right? So when he
which
came
is the
from that
African
area,
nation,
right?
which is the African nation, right?
I wouldn't say that they African nations, because we can't say African, because number one is there was no Africa when it comes to, when you say Africa. Nobody would have never called the continent of Africa Africa. It was land that they dispersed among themselves, and they named after their fathers. Like your name would have been named after you. So when we look at Africa within in itself being the continent, those people that was over in the east or in Africa, they would have never said, well, this is just Africa, or just by looking at tectonic plates and saying, well, we're going to base these continents or these boundaries off of tectonic plates. That's not how it was. Like most people say,
No, absolutely not.
Right.
But the Bible does describe what we call Africa. We only say Africa because it's a universally understood term that we all understand. We know what
Who was
Africa means.
Africa?
So,
Who are you describing of who Africa was then?
Well, in the Bible, you know what I'm saying, it says the progenitors of Ham. Right, the progenitors of Ham are the true Africans, which would be your Ethiopians, your Libyans, your Canaanites. Those are ancient Africans. You know what I'm saying? Those are the original Africans. Now, when Shem was given land, Shem was given land, and every one of Abraham's descendants were given land as well as Esau. Esau, which some of the Israelites talking about is the white man, which I don't agree with because he's not. Esau is the cousin of Israelites because he comes from Esau, which is the twin brother of Jacob, right? Now, Shem was given that portion right there, which, you know what I'm saying, which we call the Middle East, which is actually Northeast Africa. There was no such thing as the Middle East prior to the invention of the Jewish state in 1948. Prior to that, that was Northeast Africa, and it still is.
Right, but it wouldn't be Northeast Africa because it was never called Northeast Africa. In other words, when you say Northeast Africa, you're basically saying that this area was Africa. But in the ancient times, and you look at an ancient map, it wasn't Africa. It wasn't Middle East either, but it was Asia. You know what I'm saying? So they would have looked at it and called it Asia, or they would have looked at it and said, well, this is the land of Canaan or Canaan right here. Or when you look at up above, this is the land of Aram. You know what I'm saying? Or this is Syria up here. This is Assure's land. And so when we look at it, when you start going down, it would have never been called Northeast Africa, because you got to look at it that we're not basing it off of tectonic plates nor off of Africanus. But Libya was called Africa. It was called Afri, and Josephus said that those are some of, I believe, Abraham's people, Keturah's sons, that went up to that place and established that area over in Libya. But here's my question, even dealing with Libya. When you start dealing with Libya, how did the Egyptians depict the Libyans?
They depicted them as black people. The Libyans have always been black. They have always been that. This is the reason why. Do you know about the Suez Canal? Do you have history about the Suez Canal? Yeah, the Suez Canal was one of the methods that was used to separate Israel from Africa. And this is the reason why we got a lot of camps that got a problem with Africa. Now, they have a lot of problems because Europeans have spent billions of dollars and have taken great efforts to separate Israel, which is the most holy land on the planet. Even Islam, all religions acknowledge that Jerusalem is the most holy place on the planet. So Europeans have took great painstaking to separate Israel from Africa. So they put the Suez Canal right there. I think it was in 1952 is when they did that. They created the Suez Canal, which separated Israel from Egypt and the rest of Africa. But Israel in the Middle East is Northeast Africa. It was never called Asia because it was part of Africa. When you see other maps, they got the Middle East that's sitting up on top of Africa. But technically, when you look at an ancient map, the Middle East is on the side of Africa. It's not really on top how you see it like in maps right now. It's more or less on the southeast side where it's more connected. But they're trying to disassociate Israel from Africa, so they did whatever they could to disassociate that with us. Now, I can see from you, I know your name G-Con, and you from the Lou. And I know that star of Molech turns you off. I know it do. I know it turns you off, don't it?
I don't know
Yeah,
what it is.
I
I don't
know
know
it
if it's,
do. I know it do.
I,
It turns you off. It turns you off. It's the star of Molech. That is the 6-point star is not a representation of Israel, man. It is not. That is a pagan star that was picked up by the European Jews. They took that on. That is not a star. That is not the star. That's not the representation of Israel. We just what happened was is you find E1B1A. The majority of African Americans, not just African Americans, but Negroes in South Central America, we all share the same Y DNA haplotype. All of those that's part of the slave trade, we basically share the same haplotype. And it's all E1B1A. Africans are E1B1B. You know what I'm saying? We're E1B1A. Africans, which would be, you know what I'm saying, like I said, your Ethiopians, your Canaanites, they are E1B1B. We are E1B1A. And that is the same with you, with me, South America, Central America, especially in Brazil, Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic. E1B1A is all through, you know what I'm saying, all through the Americas, North, South, and Central. We all through this. And you know this, like I said, I did with the brother Dr. Yehoshua Ben Ephraim. Now he himself, because his family was fortunate enough to maintain their oral history, he understands he descends from the Yoruba Jews, which is the B'nai Ephraim. So he is from the tribe of Ephraim because of his oral history and because of his DNA. He is a doctor. He has studied
now
genetics, and he
his
proved it.
DNA? And see, that's why I really wanted to kind of get
Yes.
some be on the
Yes.
on this panel so we can, because if you notice, I look in the group, I posted a source in the group,
Yes.
basically on El Hacks himself. Let me read this to you.
Yes.
It says El Hack himself admits this in his paper. The Khazars have been vanquished and their remains have yet to be sequenced, right?
Yes.
It says, in other words, there is no record of what exactly Khazar's DNA might have been, right? Now, let's look at something, because he admits this. He says this. I post a link in there, and I want to really kind of go to that link and pull that up. Now, when you look at where it says that at, and I got all this information on my phone, so I don't
No doubt.
I gotta get familiar with this stuff I got on here. But I'm pulling up an abstract. I posted the link in the in the group. But I want to go to his very paper. That way you can know this is not just quoted.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see, materials and method. Hold on. This is, what page is this on? All right. So
Hey, LeBron Campbell, the DNA of the Khazars is J haplogroup. They claim that the J haplotype is of the Kohen Moto haplotype, which is the founding lineage of the Levitical priests. This is a documented fact, and that's what they do claim. So, LeBron Campbell, just to answer your question.
So when you said that the J haplogroup, where can you post that source in the what's called, because the J haplogroup actually is before the Khazarians and before Israelites. That's a haplogroup that is not
Absolutely.
That Israelites share, or Jews share, and also Arabs and not just Arabs, but Iranians and all of them, because it spreads that far. But so I'm trying to see if you got a source. Post that in there.
I mean, I can tell
Okay.
you the source. I mean, I'm not too technically inclined to really post sources and everything, but I can speak to sources on right here. You know what I'm saying, from word of mouth, and they can go. You know what I'm saying, look them up. You know what I'm saying. I just, like I said, this is my first time ever doing a live debate like this. I'm actually kind of excited. You know what I'm saying. This is an exciting time for me, right? I ain't never did this before. You know what I'm saying. So shit, you know. But
All
yeah,
right. So okay. So so I got that list for you right here. Right. It says choice of surrogate populations. It says as the
yes,
and this is basically his information. He says as the ancient Judeans and Khazars have been vanquished, right? So he says as the
yes,
ancient Judeans and Khazars have been vanquished, and their remains have yet to be sequenced. So what that's saying is that you don't have any far as Judeans or any Khazar remains, they've been vanquished. So he's saying that he didn't sequence any of that DNA. It says in accordance with previous studies, right? So he
right,
lists his sources and all of that. He got his sources in here. Levy Kaufman, 2005, and says contemporary Middle Eastern and Caucasus populations were used as surrogates. Gay. So what they did was they took Middle Eastern and also uh, uh, they took also Caucasus populations to test subjects basically. So it says,
right,
watch what it says. Palestinians were considered Proto-Judeans because they are assumed to share a similar linguistic, ethnic, and geographic background with the Judeans and were shown to share common ancestry with European Jews, right? Now, watch what he
right,
says. He says similar, then he gives the sources or whatever. He says, similarly, Caucasus Georgians, or however you say Georgians, and Armenians were considered Proto-Khazars because they are believed to have emerged from the same genetic cohort as the Khazars. Now that's a problem with that because when you start looking at that very area,
yes,
one of the things that we see, one of the ways we see is that it's just like Africa. In Africa, there is a variety of people, a large variety of people, just different admixtures of people, right? That pass through
yes,
Africa, that's been going in and out of Africa for centuries. Now,
yes,
it's the same thing when you pass it through the Middle East because you either coming from east, are you going west? Are you going from west, going east? Are you going south? Right? And
yes,
so a
yes,
lot of people pass through there. And so what we see is that he went to that area, and because he's seen that there was test subjects there, that he possibly, he felt like that they've been there, that these are the Khazars. Now remember, it just told us that there is they've been vanquished and their remains have yet to be sequenced. That's what it says. So you don't even have Khazarian DNA to be saying
So
that,
basically,
number
okay,
one,
okay.
that
So basically, they're saying that they have not been able to do the genetic research as far as the Ashkenazi and Khazarian Jews. Basically, is what it's saying,
no,
right?
not
Is that
yeah,
what it's
yeah,
saying?
yeah, right. In other words, let's say, for instance, if you pass 1,000 years ago, right, and
Right.
I'm your ancestor, right, and people are
Yes.
going around and saying, well, let me use another analogy. Let's say, for instance, you passed, and then somebody's trying to connect you back to me, right, or connect us to
Right.
each other, right? Now they do a DNA test on me with some people that's in the same very area that you passed at, right? But those might
Right.
not necessarily be your people, and so that's the same scenario now. In other words, that we would need your bones, or can we find some at least culturally that ties you back to that area or that ties you back to me? If we don't have your bones, then we can't determine and say this brother stems from what's your name again? I forgot from
Yoruba,
what's uh
Doctor Yoshua Ben Ephraim.
no,
Yeah,
I'm
from the
saying
Yoruba Jews.
they can't say that I stem from Isaac. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they wouldn't be able to determine if I stemmed from you or not. You know what I'm saying? because they don't have your bones. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. I'm just using an example. I don't know. Can you hear me?
I was just saying. Yeah. Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, I got you. Absolutely.
So what I'm saying is is that it's the same scenario what this paper is saying. It's saying that they don't have any Khazarian nor ancient Judeans because they have been vanquished and their remains have yet to be sequenced. When it says sequence, there is no SMP, no singular nucleotide, anything that they can even basically even test. They can't even test none of those things.
But think about it like this. As what I say to the brothers. I was in the Comedic Science versus Israelite group, and that group goes hard, right? And it's the same topic. It's well you don't have any bodies or any remains that can prove that you are the children of Israel. But I say this to you: the people that are in Israel right now, they have strict guidelines to who can and cannot move in Israel. They have strict guidelines to who can go visit holy sites that are in Israel. There is a reason why they are hiding this information, because the information that is being held in Israel right now that can prove or disprove if the children of Israel are the so-called Negroes, they will not release. Because for the simple fact, if they release those facts, they would know. This is the reason why the Khazarians come through there. The Khazarians, and real talk, the Khazarians was started by the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds is who started the whole Khazarian movement. They are the reason why they got all these Europeans from Europe and brought them into Israel. Now we know the Bible says that Israel will be gathered through the four corners of the earth, from everywhere. I mean, from America, from Europe, from Africa. I mean, from all over the world, Israel would be regathered. But the Rothschilds, which is the international bankers, which is the one that controls Hollywood, controls the media, controls everything that is proficient in the society, they have put it there, and only those that come from Europe are accepted as Jews, or unless you accept Judaism. And this when it comes back to that 6-point star about what I was telling you about. It all comes back to that. If you don't accept the 6-point star in Judaism, you will not be accepted into Israel. And I am one of them Israelites. The 6-point star does not represent Israel. That is a pagan star where Solomon was reprimanded for doing the same thing. He took on stars and moons and suns, and the 6-point star, he took that on, and Solomon was reprimanded for that. Because we are not to worship the sun, moon, and stars. So any Israelite that's running around here with a 6-point star on a flag or representation, they are in fault. And that is not correct. Because that is not the
All right,
representation of Israel.
so let me ask you this real quick, because in reference to Zechariah 14, let me know what you think about this. Let me read this to you.
Yes, sir.
It says,
Yes, sir.
Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoils should be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city should go forth in captivity. Now let me ask you this. Are these people in the land before Christ come back, or will they be in the land? I got an echo.
Yeah, me too. Yo, parse up, brother. Could you repeat that question? Because the shit paused on me. It paused on me when you know what I'm saying, when you was in the middle of your question, so I didn't get to hear the whole thing what you were saying. Yeah.
All right, so let me see why I got this. Hold on. You still got one?
Yeah. No. Wait. Little bit, but it's not going. It ain't going to deter the situation though. So I got a little one, but it ain't going to deter nothing.
Right. All right, so
So you saying Zechariah what? Zechariah, huh?
Zechariah 14. You must have did something different because it shouldn't be an echo for some reason. Did you turn something
I
up
don't
or
hear one
something like
now
that?
though.
Or
I
okay,
don't,
yeah, I don't hear it now either.
I don't hear one. Yeah, I don't hear one either. No, I don't hear none now.
All right, cool,
So
cool.
what would
Okay,
yeah. So Zechariah, what would you as far as what now? Now go ahead and hit that
okay,
for me again.
Zechariah 14. Zechariah 14, right? And I don't know if you're familiar with it, right? It says, behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil should be divided in the midst of thee, for I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle. And the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity. Now, my thing is this is Israel gathered before Christ come back, or is he, or are they gathered, after Christ come?
Well, when Christ returns, he's going to be the one that regathers all of the lost, all of the scattered. I'm going to say scattered, not lost, because we're not lost. We're just scattered. We're scattered amongst the nations. When the Messiah returns, he's going to be the one that returns us back to the land that he promised us. Well, not him, his father. When
So
the, you know what
what?
I'm saying? When the father
Okay,
returns, yeah, yeah,
so
go
are
ahead.
they so is there a partial gathering before they come back into? I mean, before he come back, is there a partial gathering before he come back?
No, no. All of Israel will be scattered. All of Israel would be scattered until the coming of Christ. When Christ
All right, well,
returns,
so hold on.
he
So
will return.
all right, so what you think about this scripture? Let's read this scripture again. You got your Bible before you, or all right, cool.
Let me get it
So
for you.
watch what it
Let me
says.
pull it out for you. Let me pull it out for you.
Right, you go to pull that sword out because you can't get cut up now.
All right. I hear you said Zechariah.
Yeah, 14. Yep.
Hold on. Give me a second. Let me go through my book. Let me go through it. Let me see. Zach. Because I read from the word of Yah. That's what I read from. All right, Zechariah what?
14. And I see that brother Isaiah Abad, Ahaya Ba, I don't know how to say your name, bro, but I see you saying that it happened already. You sure that happened already? You might want to rephrase that before I read it. You know what I'm saying? This brother read it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
exactly. Go ahead and get him, because they going in.
All right.
And hear me,
All
hear
right.
me.
So,
And this is my thing about the whole thing. And before you start reading it, this is my whole thing about when Christians get to talking. Christians always try to say that all the prophecies have been fulfilled. There's not one prophecy right now that they will admit that has not been fulfilled yet. They still continue to say that everything has been fulfilled. So what is the purpose of Christ returning back and coming back and returning the children back to the land if everything has been fulfilled?
I don't say that. So let me take you to this scripture right here. I don't say that. You know,
Mm.
I know what's fulfilled and what's not fulfilled. But watch what it says.
All right, Zechariah,
This is
you said Zechariah what? Zechariah 14?
14, right? Yeah, it says, behold, the day of the Lord it says, behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be
Yes.
divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem, right? And the city
Yes.
shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Now, let me ask you this. You
Yes.
said that this has not happened yet, or has this happened yet? Because
I
there's
would
people in this
say
city.
the
Hold on,
the complete
somebody was calling
yeah
me. Go
uh,
ahead. Say that again.
the complete returning of Israel will be made manifest through the Messiah. Not until then. Not no time before then. Until the Messiah returns, the true children of Israel will not return back to the land until then. That is
All
that
right.
is the final prophecy. This is the reason why we say when Donald Trump said he getting ready to move the capital to Jerusalem, then all of a sudden the Arab leaders done came together and they done sent out letters to black pastors in America telling them that the Khazarian Jews have no genetic ties to the ancient Israelites. This is what's going on right now. They're
Wait, hold
proving a
on, brother.
point
Hold on.
because
Hold on.
yeah,
Listen.
yeah.
Let me read
I
this
got you.
to you before you say that, because you're going to have to read this scripture back, because I'm telling you. Now, watch this.
I got you. I got you. I got you. I got you. I got you.
All right,
Let me
well,
hear
watch
it.
this. Hold on. Now, look at it. It says, "For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity. And the
Right.
residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations." Now, I got to ask you this. Why is the
Yeah.
Lord going forth, gathering to Jerusalem, talking about who's going to be in the city Jerusalem, and why is he going to go fight against those nations if there is not no Israelites that's in Jerusalem?
He's going to, well, you know what I'm saying? We got, you know what I'm saying? We got a couple followers. We got about 9, 10 viewers. And I would think that what that means is that those that have transgressed against his children, you know what I'm saying? Those that have transgressed against his children, he will deal with. And nobody wants to deal with that. Nobody wants to deal with the fact that a bill has to be paid, man. Somebody has to pay for that. You will deal with that payment. All of those that have, you have to deal with that.
I'm asking you,
So,
though, who is in this land, though? Because,
oh,
look,
who's
read
in
it
the land
again.
right
Look,
now?
right. No, I'm saying, okay, listen. You
I got it
stated
right now.
that,
I got it right now.
right, you will go, just read it, because it says, "For I will gather nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled." Who's in the houses? And the women ravished. Who's in what woman is being ravished? And half the city shall go forth into captivity. Who is going into captivity? And who is the Lord coming to save?
Well, I mean, you know, just, and I'm not going to sit there and tell you, you know, I'm not going to sit there and give you a definitive and stand strong with what I'm saying, because, like I said, I'm still learning in my truth. But at the end of the day, what I see is this: the children, he's coming to save his children, regardless. Now, the Most High has made it way possible to enslave the children of Israel because of their disobedience, because of what they have done and what we were commanded not to do. We still continue to do. So if he's bringing it towards Jerusalem, I would think that applies to the prophecy of the Gentiles. To me, that sounds like the prophecy of the Gentiles to me, because why would he destroy Jerusalem if the Gentiles was
Wait,
not
hold
occupying
on.
the land that was already there?
Hold on, listen. The Lord is coming to save these people. Watch what it says in verse 3. "Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle." Right? Now watch what it says. It says, "And
Yes.
his feet shall stand in the day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east." So we know he's coming to fight those nations that has gathered against Jerusalem, right? Now, let me show you something. Because if he's going to go fight, it says that there are people that's in Jerusalem. That's what the text saying. And so you stated earlier, wants to be in your video chat. Somebody wants to be in the video chat, but I don't.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, put them on. Put them on. Put them on.
Can they add
I mean,
viewers
we
to be on
need,
your? Can they,
put them on.
no,
Yeah.
I can't. I don't think I can add them though as viewers. No, I don't think I can add them because I can't. You can only add a certain amount of people, I think.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm
No,
not
we could.
inclined all the way to technology, so I can't really, you know, you know what I'm saying? I had trouble getting on with you in the first place. Like, so I'm,
Right,
you know, I'm
right,
kind of
right,
lost, you
right.
know.
Right. So what I want to read is this, right? So we see that there's people there. Now watch this text. What this text say right here? It says, watch what it says.
Got you.
Where is it? It's because if you look at this, it's saying somebody is going to be in Jerusalem, whether we like it or not. Somebody gonna be there.
Absolutely.
So if somebody gonna be there, that means that there must be a partial gathering already that took place, because who's the Lord coming back to come save in this land, Jerusalem? It just
Well,
said
he's
there's
not coming.
women. There's,
Right. Go ahead. I got you.
It says, let me read it to you again so you can read. I want you to read it on your own because I don't want you to read. I want you to look at it yourself, read it, and you look at it. But watch what it says.
I got you. Yeah, okay.
"For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth in captivity." So what this is saying is when he gathered all when he gathered all nations against Jerusalem, they're going to go in, they're going to take the city, they're going to rifle, the house is going to be rifled, and women ravished, and half of the city should go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people, what people is he talking about? Israel, should not be cut off from the city. That's what he's talking about. But guess who come and save him in verse 3? Then should the Lord go forth and fight against those. Watch this. Then should the Lord go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. Now, we see that. So if we see that, we got to look at Jude. What does Jude say? Jude in 1 and 14. Watch what it says. "And Enoch, also the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment upon all and to convince all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have committed." So we see that the Lord is coming back. But when he comes back, we see also that he's coming back to come save Israel too, just as well. Because when we look at it, watch what it says in Revelations 19 and 11. Watch what it says.
Yes.
It says, let's jump down to 14, 11, Revelations 19 and 14. "And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean." Right? "And out of his mouth go forth a sword, a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nation." So all of this is actually taking place. I got an echo.
I got a little bit of one, but it ain't gonna stop the truth. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Trying to stop the truth. You know what I'm saying? We already here.
All right, so,
but I hear you clearly though.
Cool. So let me ask you this. Earlier you said, because I read the scripture, you went to Zechariah 12, right? And Zechariah 12 leads up actually to Zechariah 14. Now, it's telling you what happened. Now, you read Zechariah 12, and I said go to 15. Now, let me ask you something. Has this happened yet in Zechariah? Let's look at this. Let's read this. Let's start at 1.
Let's go.
It says, "The burden of the word of the Lord." This is Zechariah 12. "The burden of the word of the Lord for Israel, saith the Lord, which stretcheth forth the heavens and the foundations of the earth, and form the spirit of man within. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup unto all the people round about them, when they shall be in the siege both against Judah and against Jerusalem. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. Now, I have to ask you this. When is this going to happen?
It's going to happen at the returning of Christ. It's going to happen at the return of Christ. He's coming back to return the children of Israel. Not no man-made. This is the whole thing. The whole world has been deceived because the UN and the Rothschild international bankers have come and they have made Israel a state in 1948. So now all of a sudden people come through and they're like, oh, that's Bible prophecy. They come through Israel as a state now and da-da-da-da. But the Bible does not say that. The Bible says when the Messiah returns, he will return all the children of Israel back to the land that he promised their fathers. So if anybody was to believe that Israel becoming a state in 1948 was a fulfilling Bible prophecy is wrong, because the Messiah has not returned. The prophecy of the Gentiles, when the prophecy of the Gentiles is going on right now, when Jerusalem is surrounded by Roman forces, Roman forces, that's when the time is near. Donald Trump is talking about moving the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem. This has caused Arab leaders who have already known the truth, who have been, I'm trying to tell you, have been said the truth. They
Hold
have
on,
been said
brother.
the truth. They have been
Somebody
said the
asked
truth.
you a question. Somebody
What
asked
he
you a
say?
question in the group. Let me read it to you.
Go ahead, read. Come on.
This is from Stephen Tilley.
All right.
He says, "How can Jerusalem be a troublesome stone when Messiah returns? When it says this happens before his return."
Okay.
I'm gonna let you answer that, man.
Stephen Tilley. My bad if I mispronounce your name, brother. But my question is this: when all of Israel returns back to the land that was given to them, what is there not supposed to be peace on the earth? That is my question to you. Because at the end of the day, when the Messiah returns, there's supposed to be peace right now. There's not supposed to be all these wars and all this stuff that's going on right now. When the Messiah returns and returns back, there's supposed to be peace on earth. So, Stephen Tilley, I ask you, if that is the case, why is there not peace on the earth right now since Israel has returned?
Hey, I think that when we look at it, it's talking about a partial gathering has taken place already.
Oh yeah,
Because I'm gonna read
brother,
a couple of more
don't get me
scriptures.
twisted. Hey, before you read, I got a confession. Don't get it twisted. I'm not an expert scholar on what on what I believe in. You know what I'm saying? I'm still a baby in this, and I'm telling you, and I've been studying this for like 10 years. I've been studying this. So, but I'm still a baby in this, and there are a lot of questions that I cannot answer. There are a lot of prophecies that I cannot really define and really answer. But what I do know is that when the true children of Israel are returned back to Israel, there will be peace on the earth. That is what I do know. So,
okay, well, let me ask you this, brother. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this in all sincerity, because I respect you big time. Because you know what? You admitted and you said, you still learning, which we all are still learning. But I have to ask you this.
Yes.
If I give you my phone number, fam, can we have a conversation off air dealing with these scriptures anytime you want to, anytime you want?
Listen, man, I'm a college student, man. I sit up in my crib all day. I don't work. I got a motherfucker, you know what I'm saying, a Hebrew sister right now that's making sure that I get to where I need to be at in life. So I work. I'm saying I own a house. I'm a homeowner. I own my own house. But she comes here. She makes sure she pays for I'm getting my education. And any day, bro, you call me anytime, day or night. You can call me anytime, day or night. I'm here, anytime.
All right, so I'm a truck driver, because I think that we can break bread in these scriptures, man, and really establish some, really build some things.
We can.
So,
And I'm saying the only difference is this. Like I said, I grew up in a Christian household. First Southern Baptist, then Protestant. I grew up in the whole nine. I got theologians in my family that have been. So I've heard all the rhetoric of a Christian. I've heard it all. I grew up into it. I've heard all of it. And the only thing I say is this: anytime you teach somebody to not follow the laws, I don't care how you do it, what type of cycle you use, or what type of method you use to teach that the laws are not important, that right there is a red flag, because Christ was the embodiment of law keeping. He was one that was able to keep the laws of the Most High. He was one that was able to, he didn't eat unclean. He didn't celebrate pagan holidays, Christmas, Easter, all these holidays. Christ did not do that. Christ didn't eat unclean foods. Christ walked in righteousness. So anytime a Christian gets to talking about, you know what I'm saying, we're no longer up under the law, what you're saying, if I ask you that, brother, let me ask you a question. If I ask you this, say we in a criminal lifestyle, because I know you know about that criminal life, nigga, you from St. Louis, so I know you know about it. I know you know about it.
Don't tell
I know you know about it. So if I tell you, I swear to God, if I tell you, brother, you're no longer up under the law, what does that mean to you as far as as in a criminal aspect. If I say, brother, you're no longer up under the law, what does that mean to you?
Right.
Woo!
That means
Woo!
it's on and popping. You know what I'm saying? But here's
The
the
law
thing.
don't affect you, right? Woo!
Right. But here's the thing. That's not like I would say this. Now, when you look at the church, right? I would say that the majority of the church don't read this Bible. Just keeping it honest. I'm just keeping it honest.
Sure did. Sure did.
Okay,
Sure
so
did.
when I say when the scripture says that, or it says that the law of Moses, and then it also talks about the law of liberty of Christ. Now,
Right.
those terms are used because Moses is the mediator between man and God who brought that testament to you. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it's not saying that these are not God's laws because they is, because when you look at Torah, right? Torah means instructions and teachings, right? To instruct,
Yes.
to teach, to direct. And so
Yes.
when you look at it, the Old Testament, it has terms, conditions, and penalties, right?
Absolutely.
And so, like, if I came and I made a contract with you, and I say, hey, Isaac, let's me and you make this contract with each other. Here's the terms and the conditions of the contract. And then we look at it and we agree on those things. We both are binding to that contract, right? Now,
Absolutely.
when you look at the Old Testament, it's the same thing. When you are under the Old Testament, whatever men you agreed upon, you have to do that, right? If you do not do all of those things within that contract, then you have voided that contract. You have violated the contract, and therefore it's void now because you didn't do what was asked to do, right? So
Absolutely.
when you look at the contract, reason why we say we're under the New Testament, because what does the Old Testament consist of? Now, when it comes to moral things, those things are in the New Testament. You better morally be correct, be right.
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
Now, let me ask you this. In the contract with Israel, in that covenant, was judgments in that contract? Judgments?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, it
Right.
was.
So Israel was being established as a government, and they sacrificed their religious system or their system of worship that they had, and they was a government, right? Now they had civil laws. They had civil laws. They had dietary laws. Now, all of that is binding in the contract that me and you have, so to speak. I'm just speaking in between me and you. Now, we have this contract. If you break one of those things, Isaac, then you have violated them all. So what comes under that contract? Whatever the blood touch. You know, I used to be a blood, so blood, you know, the concept of blood in, blood out.
I already knew, nigga. I already knew, brother.
Right.
That's what I said about the Star Molech. That's why I said about the
right. So we used to run the 5. So you know, I know about right. Yeah. So I know a lot about it. So it didn't used to start. It didn't used to be like that. You know what I'm saying? But it got like that. In my time, it was a blood and crip thing. It wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? When you do the history on it, but that we made that like that, and now it got worse because everything is about the dollar now. So it wasn't like that.
Absolutely.
So blood in, and blood out, right? And that was the concept that we had. And one of the things is if you get put on, it's blood in. You get put off, it's blood out. That's what the contract consists of that we look in Israel, right? It was blood to get in the covenant. When you look at the bloodshed, it was to get in the covenant. Guess what Moses did? He took a scarlet with hyssop. And he offered goats and bullocks, and he sprinkled the very blood on the people because they in it. He sprinkled the blood on the book, right? Because they got to follow the book, and it's a witness against them. He sprinkled the blood also on the offerings. I mean, not the offerings, the vessels, and also the tabernacle. 4 things he sprinkled the blood on. Now, would you agree that those 4 things are in the covenant?
Absolutely. I would never deny
Right.
that. Absolutely. It was a blood contract that was signed by the children of Israel. But
Right.
it is the
Got
same
you.
thing. Yeah. But it's the same thing as the Constitution. You didn't sign up for no Constitution, but you still adhere to it. You still follow those guidelines of the Constitution. It's the same thing. When you make a blood contract with your ancestors, that follows you from day one. You know what I'm saying? So when you say, you know what I mean, we didn't live that contract, you have no choice but to live the contract because you are of Israel. Brother, you are of Israel. You are of the church,
But
and
see,
you got the energy because, man, you got your beard, you got your mustache, you got your locks. You right there. But at the end of the day, I swear to God, I promise you, you right there. But at the end of the day, when you push the European agenda, that Khazars, which have been proven historically, biblically, and genetically incorrect, it's like, hold up, brother, what is you doing? We could
you
prove
can't listen.
otherwise.
Listen. You cannot say genetically. Like right now, we reading this scripture. If we read these scriptures, it shows you that somebody is in this land. You got to, and when listen, when you get time, I want you to look at Zechariah chapter 12 all the way to 14 and just read it, bro. Because listen, I'm gonna tell you
So I have a
something.
question.
I'm gonna tell you this. Yeah, go ahead.
Who do you think is in Israel right now?
I think that a portion of Israel is in the land, which is what we see now, the Israelis, and I think that also Israel is scattered too. Do I think that some Israelites came over here? Definitely, I definitely do. I know they did. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
I don't deny that.
absolutely.
Now,
So
do I think that all of Israel is black? I don't think that all of Israel is black. I think
Okay, go
I
ahead, go
think
ahead.
it's a
Okay,
mixture of,
so my thing will be this. My thing will be this. If you study the genealogy of Abraham, start from Abraham and go all the way down until you get to Jacob. If you understand the women that he had children with, which was Abraham and what? Sarai, right? It was Sarah, right?
uh-huh,
And then they had Isaac, right? And then
right.
Isaac had who? And Isaac had children by who?
Jacob and Esau with Rebecca and Leah.
Absolutely. Now, if you
I mean, I'm
study
sorry,
the
that was Jacob.
origin,
That was Jacob. That was Jacob. I'm sorry, that was
yeah, Jacob
Jacob.
had Rebecca. Yeah, true
Isaac
indeed.
had, yeah. Isaac had, he had Rebecca, and hold on,
Jacob had,
Isaac.
I think he did
Jacob
have
had
Rebecca.
Leah. Yeah, Jacob had Leah, and also
Jacob had like 3 wives. He had like 3 different
yeah,
wives that he procreated with. It wasn't just one
right.
wife. He had, you know what I mean?
He
But
had
they were
Leah,
all,
right.
yeah, but they were all Negroes. Like the tribe of Israel is all Negroes. Europeans will never admit that. They will admit that Jesus ain't white. They will admit that Christ is not white. They will admit that. But they will never admit that Christ was a Negro, was a black
Well,
man with
I would.
woolly hair. They will never admit that because
Well,
they can never say that because they've used. Go ahead, brother. Go
here's the
ahead.
thing. There's a problem with when you say, like when you say how we classify ourselves as Negro, Mongoloids, and
Caucasoids,
Caucasoids, right? Yeah,
Caucasoids, yeah, sure
Caucasoids.
enough. Yep.
There's a problem with that because, like for instance, me and you, right?
Yes.
If we was in the
Absolutely.
Middle East, we were more so like they at that time. You got people that was in the Middle East that looked at like like they could be Mongoloids because they call Asiatics Mongoloids. That's what people don't understand. Like when you look at some Asiatics, even though the ones travel farther east, they're more so Mongoloids. But when you start coming into America, the Native Americans, those are Mongoloids. Even though we don't
Absolutely.
know that.
I agree with
And
you.
so
Oh yeah,
it's,
absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah, absolutely. I agree
but
with you
that's
with that.
weird though. But
Absolutely.
see, that's what I'm saying. Back then, that's not how we labeled ourselves. So you see what I'm saying? Like
Right.
we labeled ourselves that. So if you say Negroid, then that's just like you saying that's a byword, or you might say in your thing, oh, that's a byword. No, when you say Negroid,
Absolutely.
that's just determining where, right? Which I kind of disagree with a lot of that stuff. I think that people we took on that terminology because of the Western mentality, so to speak,
Yeah, of
but I
course.
think that that's not how
Absolutely.
you should really label people. But my
So let me ask you a
my
question.
thing is this is that. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
My thing is
Finish
this
it.
is that when you say, I think that when we look at Israel, who was Israel? Israel was spread to different continents. You know what I'm saying? Israel was spread to, we see Asia. When they came out of Asia, they spread it to Africa. They were spread also to Europe and all the way to the Americas. And so to
Why were they
say that
scattered though?
these people,
Why were they scattered? Why were they scattered
because
though?
they broke the law. They broke the law. They disobedience, right?
Okay,
Right?
absolutely. Okay,
So
I
so
agree
what I'm
with you
saying
on
is
that.
this is
Absolutely.
what I'm saying is this is to say that these people all just looked alike, all the same. That doesn't make any sense because they've been on every continent and they was taking different wives. They wasn't taking the wives because they can do that. The Bible said that they can do that. Matter of fact, they could take wives of far nations or countries, but they couldn't take wives that was in that vicinity of the Canaanites. That's what the Bible says. So what I'm saying is this is that how is it that
How is it
every time we look around,
every time we look around,
all the Israelites are just black?
all
We
the
know about the
Israelites are
Buddha
just black?
tribe.
We know about the
We
Buddha
know about
tribe, about
African tribes that we see far as
African
what is
tribes
it,
that we see called what is it, the
Ethiopian tribes and stuff like that.
Ethiopian tribes and
But when
stuff
you
like
start
that.
getting towards
When you start getting towards
all the Israelites is being
all
black,
the
that don't make
Israelites
any
being
sense,
black, that
man.
don't make any sense.
Because they've been on every continent and they've been spread it to the four corners
But
of
my
the earth.
question is
So
this. But my question is this. Why does that not make sense? Especially if you track the genealogy of Jacob and his wives and his sons. If you look at his sons and you look at his wives, just like anything else, even though we've been taken into captivity and we was put on slave ships in 1619 and sent across the world, we still maintained our identity. You still know who a Negro is when you see him, even if we've been taken over by other nations. We've still been identified. You cannot dilute the culture and the identity of who being black is. So of course, Israel went into Egypt, and some procreated with Egyptians, and some procreated with the Assyrians, and some procreated with the Babylonians, and they all procreated. But the general maintenance of the Negro nation has always been that. It's always been. Even though you've been through slavery and all of that, you will still maintain your identity still. You might got, you know what I'm saying, brothers that are you know what I'm saying, that look white, that are pale. I'm saying black people are the most diverse people on the earth. You'll find a wooden spoon black man as opposed to a skillet black man. I mean, we are diverse because of that, but we always maintained our nationality and our identity no matter what we've been through. So to say
right.
that, you know what I'm saying? So to say that
Okay.
we've been right. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. Okay, Isaiah 11. Because when we start looking at Assyria, and we start looking at Egypt and Pathros and Cush, they're mentioned there. Let me read
Right.
this to you. It says,
Yes,
and
sir.
it shall come to pass that in that day, the Lord shall set his hand again, the second time, to recover the remnant of his people, which should be left from Assyria. Now, is there people of Israel that is in Assyria right now?
Well, I'm going to answer this. I don't exactly know where Syria is right now. I would have to go look it up and understand. But my understanding is that Assyria is from the Middle East, right? Is that
Right,
is that
yep.
correct?
Northern,
I mean,
northern
okay.
Levant area.
I'm just guessing. Okay, I'm just guessing. I know Assyria because you don't have Assyria any longer.
All
I
right,
said
so
to say
look,
this.
it says, and from Egypt, and from Pathros. Now, these two, and from Cush, these three are in Africa. Egypt, have you ever heard of the Mizraim Jews? He paused for a minute. Did I pause or did he pause? He paused. Can y'all hear me? His mic messed up. He'll come back in. Anybody want to come in here? I'll put you in. Let me put I know what I'm putting. I'll put the brother you want to come in? Who want to? I'm gonna put Steven in. Let's put Steven in. I got you, Steve. Come on in, Steven. If you want to come in, bro, come on in, cause I see you dropping some information in there, man. What's going on?
Just got back from a Bible study, just listening.
What's up, Steven, man? What you got? Hey, man. So, what information you got for us? Cause I see you dropping some information, man, in the chat. Some good information.
Well, most I hadn't seen the whole debate, so I don't know exactly what Isaac was trying to get at. Maybe you can summarize that, because here's what I could put it to you, and for everybody here, Hebrew Israelite or not. Even if the Khazar theory is true, but even if it's not, it still does not prove our friend Isaac is an Israelite. It's a non sequitur. Because if we go by El Hayek's thesis, El Hayek's thesis is this. Every European Jew is a mutt, a blend of Near Eastern, Caucasus, and Turkish. Because, take for example, a group of people from England, they move all the way to, say, Iraq, and over time, because when you move to a different country, you still maintain that haplogroup from your origin, your country. But over time, as you start intermingling or using the country where you're living in, their people as a surrogate, or your children start marrying the women there, over time, that haplogroup's going to be dominated by the haplogroup of the country you're currently living in. Basically, that's what El Hayek's thesis essentially is, that European Jews, because if you look at the charts, it lays out the DNA of Near Eastern, Middle Eastern, and lays out in colors. Ashkenazi Jews, European Jews have some Middle Eastern descent, although it got mostly overlapped with the Eastern European and surrogate nations that they were scattered in.
Right, and I think that when I looked at and I examined the information, because I have like around 12 DNA studies, that I've been looking at, and what they found out is that Ashkenazi Jews are more related to Middle Eastern people than they is to European people, and so they're like 30 to, I want to say 30%, and then overall like around 70-some% Middle Eastern, and so. When we start looking at the other groups, that say that they culturally tie back to Israel, and we can kind of see that there is some things there. And then we look in the Bible and we say, well, in this Bible, can we see a migration of where Israel might have went into that captivity and they stayed in those places? And so when they do a study of those Jews that are in Iraq, say for instance, because there were Jews that was in Iraq before they were shipped back to Israel. They did a genetic study on them, and they carry J1, J2 markers as well as some E3, and then as far as, when you look at some I and K markers, and some of them got T markers. And so when we look at those markers, then what we see is these people have some type of relation with the Jews that we see today, because they're in this area. So I'm not saying that it's based it off of that these people, this is a Jew marker, but at least if you're going to say that you are from that area, you need to have the markers that come with that area. Because if you say you got E1B1A, and then you don't have no type of markers that come from that area, then there's something wrong. That means you didn't migrate to that area, or because like you say, it deals with migration. And so if the other groups, they have them markers and they share that genetically with each other, why is you secluded over here? Like if we go to Ethiopia and we look at the Limbas or the Buba tribes, we can actually see that they carry the markers of the Ashkenazis, of the Sephardim, and the Yemenite Jews. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's
You
the
go
whole
ahead.
that's the whole genetic study. Because some other dude a while back here in the group mentioned the Limba and the Igbo. I looked that particular one up. Basically, the way they were able to find out they were from Israelite descent, of Jewish descent, was because they have the same, because Jews, the way they can, like I said, they have that same haplogroup, but they also have the same genetic markers and the frequency. The Igbo have the same as Ashkenazis. Now, if Ashkenazis are Khazars and not truly Jews, how can you say the Igbo and the Lemba are of Israelite descent? It doesn't make any sense.
Right. And then look, here's the thing too. They did the Igbos, right? They just recently just did a test on the Igbos. They culturally had some things that follow the first temple rites and ceremonies and stuff like that. Well, when the test came back, the Igbos are not Israel. They don't match up with the other Jews that has taken the test. Now, for the longest, the Igbos would not take the test. And so they got, I think, like 130 samples or something like that, and they don't match up to other Jews that we see, or the other markers of these related Jews that we see. They don't match up with the Limba, or none of those people, and so the Buba tribe, or none of those, and so they basically said that they're not Jews, but they're converts. That's what they said, and I can believe that, because you got to understand that when these people came west, when they pushed, when the Europeans came west, and also the Ashanti tribes that was in Africa, they enslaved a lot of my ancestors, and then they sold them to the Europeans. And so when we look at it, why would they do that? Because they was more primitive than we see that the East or North Africa was, and also when you start dealing with the Europeans. And so they sold them. And when they sold them into the New World. And guess what they did in the New World? They helped build the New World because they need laborers. And so that's what they did. And so when you look at the Igbos, those Igbos, they run in three groups. Christianity, Christianity, either Islam, or either Jew religion, right? And so when you look at it, the fourth thing is this. Prior to the invasion of those three religions, guess what they was doing? Practicing their own cultures, customs that they was doing. And so then they got converted.
Essentially. Right.
And so I'm trying to tell them, no matter how we see it, we got to look at it. There was no Bible in the West until about 1500 BC. Why is that? Where your manuscripts at? You know, where's all that stuff at? And so all of that, when you start dealing with this guy's hypothesis, or with the Khazari theory, I'm telling him there was people that was already in those areas in order for the conversion to even take place. But there was also people that was in Ashkenaz that was there, because before 700 AD, Israel was scattered into the Assyrian, Roman province, Grecian, Medes and Persians, all of those different places they were scattered at. Then they get over to that 700 AD. Now y'all want to act like they wasn't in these other places.
Well, that's the funny thing. The good bulk of Judah didn't even come back after Persia took over. Only a small fraction did. Everybody else stayed where they were at. They was like, nah, you country idiots, y'all go back to the country. We'll just stay here and make money and live our lives. So yeah, you have Jews who in Iran who are actual descendants of those who were left over from the exile. And on top of that, again, going back to Al-Haik's thesis, they were forced out, but and in off chance that they didn't bring any of the women from the land with them, they converted the women and used them as surrogates to bear children for them. So in any sense of the case, it still does not prove our friend Isaac is an Israelite. It's a non sequitur.
Right, and that's the whole thing, man. What I'm trying to show them is that we can't, you got everybody going around thinking that they're Israelites because they black. That's just ridiculous, man. And I'm telling you, you cannot do that, because when you start looking at the studies dealing with archaeology that's in Igbo land, what we start seeing is that these people had pottery, they had history, they had a culture before these three religions came in. Now, I'm not saying that, when you start dealing with what the Bible deals with, that, that wasn't good, because I believe that was good. I believe that the way it was brought probably was wrong, know what I'm saying? Because if you're bringing it in the way to where you're not bringing it with the spirit of truth, and you're bringing it in the way to where you're using it to enslave people, then that's a problem with that. But if you're bringing it to where you're bringing glad tidings to people, and you really want to help these people, and you really want to see people delivered because that's your job, that's fine. But a lot of people are getting to this state to where they're turning away from the Bible because they want to say, well, the white man gave you this book. That's what they say. But see, that's a tactic of the enemy. You see what I'm saying? Because the enemy, he uses that because he know already that if black people look at it and they say, well, I was oppressed by a white man, why would I follow this book? Not realizing that it's actually the enemy that is using that mindset instead of looking in the book and saying, these are true words. These words is talking about every nationality, that if they don't repent, then something is going to come on them.
Well, not only that, but when they're making that argument that, oh, you only believe in Christianity because it was forced on you by the white man, by white masses and all that, that's the genetic fallacy. Your origins of how you came to the faith are irrelevant to its modern context. Like, say my friend who is of African American descent, he becomes a believer because he actually hears the gospel. Then somebody throws that argument at him. That's completely, its origins of how he came to believe is irrelevant to its modern context.
Right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I get it. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's pretty much an attack from the enemy for the most part. It's a play on emotions. Well, on top of that, it's essentially an argument from ignorance. But another issue is pastors and elders in churches are not actually doing their jobs of actually telling the gospel to people or educating them. That's another issue with the church.
Yep. And then they get mad because that's something we do. Oh, it don't take all that. Like, we'll be in here, we'll be teaching in here, or we'll be showing people what these scriptures actually say, and they coming up against us saying, oh, you're in pride, and are you this and that. Well, hold on for a minute. We've been sitting in the church all this time, and really most people just worried about the money in the first place. And when it comes to teaching this Bible, nobody is really teaching it. But every time you see the holiday come, everybody just in the spirit, but nobody really know what this Bible is actually talking about. So then we make a step up and we say, well, we're Christian apologists. They even against us. So you like, hold on for a minute. We getting it on both sides to where we got these guys who are unbelievers who say that they are believers, but religious is I don't know what in extreme. But then when we get to the church, they like, oh, it don't take all of that. You know what I'm saying? Well, hold on for a minute. We're teachers. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. In these last days, people are being manipulated, or their minds are being driven by some type of skin doctrine. You know what I'm saying? And so when they dealing with the skin doctrine, that comes from the beast system, because back in the ancient times, we seen that people wasn't really dealing with that. They was dealing with can they relate to each other? Can they communicate with each other? And they grouped up with each other. Or can we make a script so we can understand each other? Now in these times, now we have the color doctrine, the gang bang doctrine. You know what I'm saying? Because that's really what it is color banging. Now realize that all of these are tools of the enemy to cause all of us to get out of pocket, to be out of here. You know what I'm saying? To where we have this hatred in our heart. And once we have this hatred in our heart, we can't stand before God, because we got to realize, then I'm going to let you speak. We got to realize this, is that if we was enemies of God, right, it says we was out here living any kind of way before we got saved. We was doing things, whether some people was murdering, stealing. We still all was killing, stealing, and destroying. That's what we was doing. Some people, they may have not been took it that far, but they still was doing stuff that was displeasing to God. It was definitely displeasing. It was not his will. And the Bible says that we was enemies of God. So if we enemies of God and we're not walking in the course or path that God wanted us to walk in, then it's clear that those very same people that come to God have to bestow that same type of mercy that God bestowed on them, because we was enemies towards their enemies. And so nobody understands that. So when Christ says he maketh the sun to shine on the good and the evil, why would, I mean, that saying alone should tell you that the sun ain't just shining on the righteous. It's shining on the good too. And so God is so long suffering that he wants us to have this mindset just as he have, just as Stephen have. When Stephen was being stoned, he said, Lord, lay not this charge to them. How can he say that when his enemies are stoning him, except the Spirit of God was in him to actually say something like that? But that's my whole thing, man.
Well, it's funny you bring up Stephen from Acts 7, because the whole reason he was stoned was because he was indicting the Israelites for unbelief and rebelling against God and resisting the Holy Spirit. And yeah, like you said, everybody is born in sin, born rebellious against God from the get-go. And really, that's all. It's through that God, because I was talking with my friend in my Bible study, he was talking about Romans 9, because I'm pretty much Calvinistic in my views, namely, can't come to God on our own. It's only when God does his regenerative work through the Holy Spirit, through the gospel, and he pulls you out of your sin. It's all God's work. It's not our own.
Well, you know my situation on that.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, we disagree, but it's still brothers.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things we, because Vocab, he's a Calvinist too, and one of our core thing is really the gospel. That's really what connects us together, because we understand that, we may have some theological differences, but the gospel is the core of our belief. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's basically what we deal with. But I see that this brother, man, he want to get back in here, man, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna
let me
let
go
him
ahead and
back
let
in.
him hop on in.
Yeah, because if
Yeah,
you
he
see
gonna
it,
be
yeah.
yeah, he gonna be hating. He gonna be hating. He gonna be steaming red.
All right, man. Nice talking with you,
All right,
brother. We'll build again, though.
shalom,
All right.
shalom, man. All right,
Shalom, peace,
peace,
brother.
peace in Christ.
All right, so we gotta get the brother Isaac back in here. Brother Isaac, you back in here, bro. So come on in, man. I know you finna try to come with some. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, bring me on, man. Bring me on. 'Cause I got something to say, God damn it. I ain't lying. You saying all that bullshit. Nigga, I'm coming to the truth,
Oh,
nigga. Fuck that.
well,
How many y'all know?
hold on, eyes. Come on,
Yeah.
we in the Christian group, man. We ain't gotta watch your tongue, man. We in the Christian group.
My bad. But man, I'm saying, why we can't be on the same time, man? Bring him on too. Bring him on
I
too, because
can't.
I'm about to debunk everything.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I wanted to. That's why I was telling you when you set up that thing. I can only bring one people on here. That's why I was like, that's why I gotta help you learn how to set that up so we could have all been in here. I can only bring one person because I'm on my phone right now. That's why I can't share none of my information because I'm on the phone, because I really want to share some information to put it on my screen, and then you could have put information on your screen too off your Kindle. But I got to show you how to do all of that stuff. I'm gonna show you how to do that.
Yeah,
That way we can have
man.
discussions like this.
Yeah, we got to talk, man, because you got to show me. Like I said, I'm not technologically inclined, so I know a little bit, but I can't really do all of that. But what I say to you is this, brother. What he's saying, he says a lot of good stuff. I'm not even gonna sit there and say that what he said was not right. What I'm saying to you is this. Oh my goodness, I don't know what I want to say right now because he done said a lot of stuff. he done said so much stuff. I'm sitting there like, oh my goodness. I'm sitting there hitting you. I'm like, damn, what the hell's going on? Pardon the language. But I mean, but real, my dude. The children of Israel is Semitic, right? Do you agree with that?
Right. I definitely agree with that.
You agree that the children of Israel are Semitic, right?
Yeah, I do.
And it's not Semitism, an Afro-Asiatic culture.
When now I wouldn't say Afro-Asiatic, but I'd say that it's. You know what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, wait. But look up the definition of Semitic. The origins of Semitism is Afro-Asiatic. Hey,
Right. I think
absolutely.
that's.
Yeah, go
But
look
they
up
don't
the
look.
definition.
they don't look at it how we look at it. Like they don't use Ham, Shem, and Japheth. They don't do that.
But they
You see what I'm
say that
saying?
because, but brother, they only say that because anytime you try to bring race or color up in the Bible, the Christians always want to say it's not about race. But yet they perpetuate a European Jesus, a European disciples. They perpetuate
Right.
European supremacy the whole nine. You know what I'm saying?
And
So the only thing I'm
I
saying,
definitely think, right. And I definitely think that was a wicked deed,
right.
to whitewash. I also think it's wicked to blackwash too, because we got to deal with, you say you deal with the Kemetic people, and you see the Afrocentrism that they do all day long. In other words,
Yeah.
like for instance, the Native Americans. The Native Americans will tell you all day long that they not black people, but black people will try to press that on them.
And I believe that. They're
I
not
believe it too.
Semitic. They are not
But
Semitic. Israelites are Semitic people. Semitic people are Afro-Asiatic. That's what that means. I mean, if you're talking about your Indian and your Cherokee and your all of that, you're not Afro-Semitic. What you call them? The Mongoloids are not Semitic people. Israelites are Semitic people. Period. So anybody that comes and says other than that is not telling you truth. They're telling you false and fallacies. Because Hebrew language, Hebrew Arabic. This is the reason why the brother that said, what was the brother that said that the other day, talking about that Israel will never be accepted because you left here black and came back white. But then they said that they're cousins of the Jews, right? You remember that? You remember that?
Yeah. That's brother.
You remember that?
Yeah. Who was that? What brother
Yeah.
was that who made that video?
Back in '92, it was the Egyptian president. That's
Yeah,
what
the
he
Egyptian
said.
president.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, they
He
did.
said
Go ahead.
that. Exactly. He said that you left here black and you came back white. But then he turns around and says that Jews are cousins to Islam, right? Right?
Right.
Is that not what the Bible says? That's exactly what the Bible says. He was not talking about the Khazarian Jews that's in Israel right now. He was speaking of the descendants of Esau and Jacob. Esau and Jacob are brothers. So if me and you, if you have a father and I have a father, right? And my father makes a gene pool and your father makes a gene pool, are we not cousins?
Right. But he never stated that though about. There's no record of him stating that the Jews left her black and came back white. He never stated that. If you can find that, there is no record of that. He never stated that.
So if I show you that, if I prove to you that is fact, and I can show you documentation, Time magazine, which you recognize as Time magazine, everybody recognizes Time magazine. So if I can show
Right.
you
If you can,
that's exactly what he said, would it change your opinion?
Listen, if you can show me that and show me that segment, because listen, everybody went to Time magazine and was looking for that, and Time magazine got every subscription or whatever that they got that that you can look back up and look at. And so I'm asking you, if you can give me the link to Time magazine, or we can call Time magazine and ask them, do they got that, or can we go to the library and look at that? We should be able to pull that up. And nobody can pull that up. They always posting some type of meme, and that's not Time magazine at all. Matter of fact, the next person, send it to me, and I'm gonna actually see if I can get in touch with Time magazine and see if they actually got that. That's what I'm gonna do.
I definitely will. Because brother, you are a child of Israel. So you sitting there. So for you, the fact that I swear to God, you are, and your
Oh,
whole
man.
appearance speaks to that. Well, wait, your whole appearance speaks to that. You got your beard, you got your dreads growing long. You don't cut your beard off. You live by. You keep your beard. The beard is a manifestation of what a man is. We keep our beards. This is the reason why black. You ain't supposed to cut your beard off. You're supposed to keep that.
The Assyrian,
Your
but
beard, you
but
must keep
look,
that.
The Assyrians kept their birds. They had birds in the east. They
Did
had
they?
birds. Yeah, they had
Did
birds,
they?
man. They stayed with birds. Yeah, long birds, man.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
So listen, I got another topic. Let's get up on this genetic topic though. Let's get up on the
okay.
of the J haplotype. Are you familiar with that? Are you
Yeah,
familiar with
yep.
that? The J haplotype?
Yeah, yep. Yep.
Let me read something to you right quick. Yo, can I read something to you right quick about that?
Go ahead.
Check this out. The J haplogroup is not Semitic, nor is it Arabian DNA. None of its subdivisions were Arabian or Semitic. Now you have two different subclades, which is J1 and J2, which is basically what you explained earlier. You basically admitted that you got different J1, J2, right? J haplogroup is not from the Arabian Peninsula, but from northern Fertile Crescent, originally somewhere between ancient Near East, and Central Asia, likely Eastern Anatolia. Now, Anatolian, I have not done the research on that, but if I had to guess, I would know that ancient Anatolia is somewhere around Europe. Now, I'm not saying that's the fact, but it's wrong, right? Now, time of Y DNA haplotype J. Origins is about 25,000 BC and was carried into Africa, Europe, Central Asia, Pakistan, India during the Neolithic time frame. So this is when you get the J haplotype during the Neolithic time frame. The Neolithic migrations of J clades is about 9,000 BC, right? J2A, which is a subset of the J haplogroup, right? Because you got J1, J2, was the most frequent haplogroup among Asiatics and Indo-Europeans, which also J2 is also described as M172, which is also another, presence of the J2 is M172. It's extremely found and frequent among Southern Europeans and Indians. J1A is most frequent, covering Diagnostics and Caucasians at a percentage of 55 to 99%. The J1C is found higher in the Dagestan than Ethiopians, but Ethiopians do have that same haplogroup. But J1C13 is most common among Arabians in the peninsula and Africans. But when they say Africans, they're not speaking about black people. They're speaking about those that have invaded themselves and have taken over in Africa, right? Right?
You said
So
J
when we talk
one. You
about
said JM
J1,
163.
well, I got you. Hold on, I got you. Hold on, let me get you. J1C3. J1C3 is most common among Arabian. It's not common. It's common among Arabian peninsulars, people that was Arabians in the Arabic Peninsula, and Africans. But when you say African, African does not mean Ethiopian. It does not mean Libyan. It does not mean Nigerian. It does not mean those groups. An African is a European that migrated to those lands and has rested there. You know what I'm saying? So when you say African, African does not mean black people. African is just a term that white people use to congregate themselves along with the people that have already been there, right?
Right. So let me ask you this.
Yes.
When you start looking at
When
some of
you start
those
looking
groups
at
that
some
we
of
see
those
as of
groups that we
Jews,
see as
right?
of Jews, right?
They should
Yes.
have some
They
type of
should have
genetic
some type of
connection with each
genetic
other, right?
connection with each other, right? Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's look at something.
Let's look at something.
So the limbas,
So the
right?
limbas, right? Yes. South Africa.
Right.
Right.
Can we find
Can we find
a
a
migration into South
migration into
Africa in
South
Scripture
Africa in Scripture?
from
Absolutely we
Israel?
can. From Israel? Absolutely we
Right.
can.
Right. What
Do you
scripture?
know the
What
history?
scripture you get?
Or what? Okay. I understand what you said. I already know where you're getting at, brother. I know where you're getting at. Let me ask you this. Have you heard the history, the oral history of the limber? Have you heard what their
Zephaniah,
history?
Zephaniah says that
Zephaniah says that
we can find
we can find
and in Zephaniah them
and
going into South
Zephaniah them
Africa
going to South Africa.
because it says
Well,
beyond
yeah,
the rivers
okay.
of
Beyond the
Ethiopia.
rivers of Ethiopia. But that is real. But you know what though?
Right.
But this is what I'm about to do. But this is what I'm about to do. I'm not even gonna use the Bible, even though we know the Bible explains all things. But I'm not even gonna use the Bible. I'm gonna use genetics and historical research to prove the point. If you understand the history of the limber will tell you, have they migrated from Israel? Have they migrated from the Middle East through Ethiopia, through the East Coast of Africa, and migrated down into South Africa? They will tell you that. And when they told them Europeans that they were Israelites, the Europeans laughed at them. Said, "You ain't no Israelite. What you mean? You're African." Until they brought down scientists that came down to South Africa and tested the genetics of the limber.
Somebody
That kept
echoing, I
all the
think. They said
I think they said, "Come on,
hey, Isaiah, who's that
Isaiah,
echoing?
who's that echoing?"
We
I
got an
don't know.
echo,
We
something
got
real
an
bad.
echo, something real bad. I don't
You got
know.
me on
You
speakerphone?
got me on speakerphone? No, sir. I got you the headphones in.
Yeah,
But what
it's
I'm
picking
saying
up
is, brother,
somebody.
is this. But brother, what I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is this. If you study the limber will tell you their history, their oral history. Their oral history lines up with the children of Israel. It lines up. And they said that they migrated from Israel, from the east coast of Africa.
Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? It's like he just cut out. What about now? Can y'all hear? Mic check, mic check. Is it clear? Is it still echoing now, or is it not? Do I still got an echo? Do I still got an echo? Or am I clear? I'm still echoing. Yeah, I don't know. It's his mic for some reason. His mic is causing me to echo for some reason. I don't know why. But he cut out though. Anybody want to come in? Who want to come in? Yeah, his mic was making me echo for some reason. I don't know why. Press that button if you want. If you want to come in, you can get in. Yeah, but I think that the deal is just looking at some of the other groups and the brothers don't want to look at some of those other groups to see what's really going on here. I wish I could share my screen, man. I don't like really doing. I don't like doing these on this phone like this because you can't share nothing. You can't put nothing on the screen, and we usually do Google Hangouts. And y'all know I'm always trying to put something on the screen because I got some information here that I want to pull up, but we have to get a round table going to where we can pull this information up and really look at some of these genetics and what we see. E1B1B, you know what I'm saying? E3B, you know what I'm saying? IJK, some J markers we see, we can see that some of these groups that are related have these groups. Have these subclass and these haplogroups just as well. So, eventually we get a chance to pull up some information and not just be talking and pull up some information. But as y'all can see, when it came to that Isaiah that Zechariah 14, he had no answer, because look at Zechariah 14. Look what it says. But I'm going to work on that, brother, man. I'm going to work on, I get a chance to talk to him and get the information to him. But when you look at Zechariah, watch what Zechariah 12 says. They got to answer this, man. They need to answer this right here. Because if you answered this before, all right, so yeah, all right, cool, Isaac. But I ain't gonna be on here that long, Isaac, to be honest. So let's see. Yeah, cause it's 10:01. I'm gonna have to get up in the morning. I'm tired, man. Eyes watering. I appreciate it, Tony. Yeah. Battery going dead. Another TV right there, y'all. Bada bang. TV, refrigerator. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, you see my little top bunk? I used to have a little which haplogroup was he aiming at? Well, he's not aiming at E1B1A. He's E1B1B, which is, E1B1B, which is actually one of the haplogroups that the Jews got. He's E1B1A. I'm E1B1A, as well as I'm also L3 just as well, I believe. And so chapter 12. Watch what chapter 12 say. It says, the Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. And that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Notice it says the inhabitants of Jerusalem. So they would have to put this, what would they do with this right here? How would they respond to this? And that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of the Lord before them. Now watch what it says. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all nations that come against Jerusalem. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplications, and they shall look upon me whom they pierced. Now, when does this happen? Right? Because when you go up, watch what it says. When you go up to 12 and 5, this is the killer right here. 12 and 5 says, and the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem should be my strength, and the Lord of hosts, their God. So we see that in Jerusalem right now, there's somebody there. Because when you keep going to 12, right? You go to 12 and you read 12, watch what 12 says. Watch what 13 says. 14. So 14 even gets worse for him, because you will have to say either this happens after Christ come, and if you say this happened after Christ come, then there's a problem with that. So then you got to go on and say that, well, this happens before Christ come, or you might have to say it happened already. And if you say that it happened already, then it's a problem with that. And so you have to look at this scripture, and you have to say, Isaiah 14, who was in the city of Jerusalem, where this house or that house is going to be gone into? What people was that? Who's there now? And what's the point of gathering all nations against Jerusalem if there is not an Israelite or no Israelites there? And then we have to go to Revelations 11, and right then and there, that's where the dagger come in there, because now we see there's a temple right here. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood saying, rise and measure the temple of God and the altar and them that worship therein. And so when you start seeing scriptures like that, it can only lead you back to other scriptures to say, where is this temple coming in at? Where we got this at, And then it leads you to 2 Thessalonians 2 and 2. Watch what it says. 2 and 4. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, whoso opposeth and exalteth himself above that all that is called God, or that worship, or that is worship, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God. Now hold on for a minute. It says that he's going to sit in the temple of God. Who is that that's going to be sitting in the temple of God? Ezekiel 36, the Israelites need to be in the land already. Ezekiel 30, the Israelites need to be in the land already. Let's look at Ezekiel 36. That's what I was telling him. Most groups from the Middle East, they do not have E1B1A. They might have E3, or might Northern Africa have E1B1, E1B1B, and so I was trying to tell him that. So there's, and like I say, once we be able to get in here, I say this is what I say, this is what I propose. I say that we get in here, we get our information together, and we set up Google Hangouts. And once we set up Google Hangout, which I got one, and we come together, we present the information on the screen rather than all this talking. Let's let the information speak for itself, and let's look at it and really read the information. Like, just reading, the guy's study, like I presented. And I wish I could screen share right now, but I just can't screen share. But, when we look at some of these things, right? So there's a lot of text that's being popped up in the in the chat. We'll just let you know that those scriptures that I brought out is what's called. But let me read some things to you real quick, and we'll go from there. All right, so let's read about the critical errors in Elhock's paper. It says Elhock's paper has a number of errors, some small and a number of major ones, but they are all serious because even the small errors cast doubt on the academic ability and motivation. For example, his paper discusses in detail what he sees as the geographic origins of the Khazars, yet he completely misidentifies the geographic location of one of his test sample groups, the Muti, and also the Biaka Pygmies, right? It says these two groups, El-Haq asserts at least twice, are to be found in South Africa. Now watch what it says. Actually, the Mubiti and the Biaka Pygmies are now nowhere near South Africa and are only to be found literally half a continent away in the Congo. That's one of the mistakes he made. It says, while this may seem a small error, it does indicate sloppiness in the research, which certainly does not bode well for the rest of the paper, right? Now, this sloppiness is again repeated when El-Haq asserts that Eastern and Central European Jews account for approximately 90% of over 13 million worldwide Jews, right? So he brings out that. He says, in reality, the figure is far less, or of the estimated 13 million Jews worldwide, 8 million are Ashkenazium, and 5 million are Sephardic, a division of 61% European Jews to 39% non-European Jews. And it should be pointed out that the Zionist state of Israel actually has a Sephardic and Mizraim, Sephardic and Mizraim, non-Ashkenazi Jewish majority among Jews, right? So they have Sephardic and also Mizrahi, however you say it, Mizraim. These actual facts on Jewish ethnicity are readable, available, and El-Haq's motivation for making this clearly false claim could only be ascribed to a desire to underscore his general assertion, namely that most Jews are not Middle Eastern in origin, and that Jews are not race or genetically similar, or a genetically similar people, right? The most important error in El-Haq's paper, however, is actually openly admitted. He openly admits, right, in this. Watch what he says. Peace, Brother Tony. Love you too, bro. He openly submits in this. He says, El-Haq admits in this paper, the Khazars have been vanquished and their remains have yet to be sequenced. In other words, there is no record of what exactly Khazar DNA might be, right? And there is no record of what Khazar DNA is, right? Ipso facto, physically impossible to determine who is descended from it and who is not, right? Because you don't have no Khazar DNA. Their remains are vanquished and have not yet been sequenced, it says. That's what it says. It says, El-Haq attempts to circumvent this major problem by selecting what he calls surrogate populations. Excuse me. In this case, contemporary Middle Eastern and Caucasus populations, right? So that's what he's doing, right? He didn't play, he playing games with it. Now watch. Watch this. So, Otis Lewis. So, Otis Lewis, if you want to get in here, man, you know, hit the button, man. And that region can be taken to reflect those of 1500 years ago, is highly problematic and quite simply unsustainable, right? It's problematic to be doing that, right? Especially if these cultures ain't one time said, hey, we the Khazarians. We're practicing Khazarian, no, that's just weird. Now we got Jews that we can see all over the world that never experienced 70 AD. They never came back to the land after the first dispersion. They didn't know what 70 AD was. They probably heard about it if they was writing to their first cousins or second or third cousins and family, but they didn't know anything about the 70 AD until later on, and so they never really experienced that. That's what we got to understand, man. So it says, The Caucasus, a region the border of Europe and Asia, situated between the Black Sea and Caspian Seas, has been crisscrossed by numerous people, as I told him earlier, and races over the last 2,000 years, ranging from Indo-Europeans, oh man, and anybody that studied that, they should know that, Semites, Mongols, and others, and is today highly genetically diverse. Because it's been passed through so many times, it's a highly genetically diverse place. A claim that DNA samples from this region can be taken as a sort of DNA yardstick is dubious, to say that very least. Finally, Elhak's methodology in comparing the DNA samples is to make an understatement unique to him. As Marcus Fieldman, director of Stanford University Morrison Institute for Population and Resources Studies, said, Elhak appears to be applying the statistics in a way that gives him different results. This man pulling up different results from what everybody else has obtained from essentially similar data. Everybody that gathered almost a similar data. Jews, a race, genetic theory comes under fierce attack by DNA expert, the Jewish Daily Forward. And there he's there's a source, right? So then we look at his data being refuted. I'll post a link in the chat. Post a link in the chat. All right. I copied and pasted and posted it in there so you guys can look at what I'm looking at. All right, cool. So you can look at what I'm looking at, and you can actually see that this brother's stuff is not on point. And so, all of this stuff is actually, here's the abstract. So I'm going to post a link to his paper right in the chat just as well, too. That way you guys can get that. And let me know if you guys can click on it. Yeah, you can click on it. So there it is right there. So the missing link of Jewish European ancestry contrasting the Rhineland and Khazarian hypothesis. Then here's the refutation to Elhak's hypothesis, where they have the actual evidence. And so, we can do better, y'all. Yeah, but Isaac, man, I'm going to have to get with you in a minute, man. I'm finna step off here, man. I got to definitely lay it on down. We definitely going to get up. I'm going to leave my number in your inbox because we need to put this stuff on the screen. This stuff need to be up on the screen, to be honest. That way people can see this stuff. And a simple lesson for who believe the Middle East and Asian are. With that being said, I just want to say peace and blessings to the family out there.